Good afternoon. Welcome to A to Z here on Locked On Sports Atlanta, where today I remind you this is the best version of the guy we need. Welcome in once again here on a Monday to Locked On Sports Atlanta. Yes, I know that my background is not what you would have expected. As I mentioned last week when we started the show, I am on the road traveling. We are heading out on family vacation, going to visit my parents in Florida. So we have stopped at a hotel. We'll be there later on today. And you're going to get a weird background here from me for this week and this week alone. And we'll be back into my home studio next week. So I appreciate you guys bearing with me. A lot to get to today. Very excited to be with you guys. First segment of this show today brought to you by our good friends on betonline.net. After months of playing college basketball, we're going to crown a national champion tonight. BetOnline.net, your number one source for all of your betting needs and sports info from all the latest odds, contests, player props, you name it. BetOnline remains the best spot for all your latest sports developments, including podcast reviews for all the leagues this season. It's not just basketball. BetOnline is your continued source for all of your sporting wagering needs and information, including live betting and your favorite Vegas casino games. Head to the website today or use your mobile device to learn more about the trends and the action. BetOnline, where the game starts. All right. Speaking of the game starting, let's start with the Atlanta Hawks because a huge game for the Hawks and Trae Young on Saturday night as the Hawks defeat the Nets in rather impressive fashion. And what we're starting to see from Trae Young more than anything is like playoff Trae is back, right? Over the course of the last couple of weeks, we've seen playoff Trae is back, and it is awesome to watch. Trae elevates. Now, I am somebody who's covered this team all year long, and this is now the second time that John Collins has been out. Right? He got injured in early February, then he came back for a couple of games, and then he was injured again. And when he went out in early February, you noticed this offense was different. And the only way that I knew that the Hawks were going to be able to win a game was Trae going off for like 35 or more. That was the only way this Hawks offense was going to be able to be anything resembling what it was with John Collins in the lineup. And then something sort of happened during this second injury. I don't know if Trae decided that he said, "Look, I've had enough of this. I'm just going to take over everything and go ahead and elevate," because that's what he's done. This offense now, over the course of the last 4 or 5 games, especially without John Collins, looks completely different. Trae knows he can carry these guys, right? And beating the Nets on Saturday night was super important. Like it was one of those wins that you needed to have for confidence sake, for like, hey, we're not scared of you sake. Look, for all intents and purposes, the Nets, despite what their record is and everything else, man for man, that's a scary team to play. When it's the best player in the world, maybe second best player in the world in Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving, one of the best shooters, one of the best pure scorers, one of the best ball handlers, and everything that they bring, especially what they did after the trade deadline. It's still scary. I know that their record doesn't say that they're scary, and I know that they've had a whole bunch of issues this year, but still, that's a whole lot of talent you don't want to go toe to toe against in a playoff series, especially in a one-game playoff series in the play-in tournament. But beating the Nets was very, very important, and I think for the Hawks, it was one of those wins where Trae turned around and you could see it in his face at the end of the game. It's like, don't come at me, bro. Like, this is mine. This is my time. This is my area. And I know he's not scared of Kevin Durant. I know he's not scared of Kyrie Irving. Trae is a super confident player, but he just needed to know, and he needed to just show everybody that, guess what? I'm gonna put this team on my back, and we're gonna go contend with the best in the East. Now on Friday when we talked, I told you about the expectations for the Hawks and how getting out of the play and winning a first round series doesn't matter. It's still like something they need to do after getting to the Eastern Conference Finals for you to feel any semblance of measure of success in this season. And so, they're going to have to probably face this Nets team again, if not in the playing game at some point in the NBA playoffs, you'd think, right? Like they'll probably come across their path at some point in time. But, as I said, beating the Nets was important. Now, giving up 55 to Kevin Durant, that's bad. That's actually like very bad because defensively you have to figure out a way to stop them. And the only way they overcame a 55-point night from Kevin Durant was because they got a complete effort from everybody else on the floor, right? It wasn't just Trae. They were able to get other guys involved, and they were able to make sure that there was a full complement of players there. I don't know if you're going to get that every single night, especially if you're going to give up 35, 40, 45, 50, 55 points to Kevin Durant in a given game. So that is like one of those things you can't do. But getting that win had to feel really good for Nate McMillan and company. Now, the Raptors game tonight going to be a whole different set of circumstances. This is a different challenge, right? And it's so important for them to be able to win this game because this is a defense first team right now. The Raptors over the last 10 games are only allowing 103 points per game. Hawks are scoring 117. Something's got to give. Either the Hawks are going to overpower them or the Raptors are going to be able to shut them down. And what this sets up for, and this is going to be very telling, how the Hawks perform against and how Trae performs against the Toronto Raptors, because what the Hawks are most likely going to see in the first round, as it stands now, Miami is currently the 1 seed, Boston is currently the 2 seed. Milwaukee took a bad loss to Dallas, and they've slipped down to 3. And who knows what happens? But if it's Miami or Boston that they see in the first round, two more defensive-minded teams. And it's so important for Trae to be able to face the Raptors tonight, beat them, and know that he can overcome. And I would challenge that even Miami and Boston's defense are distinguishably better than Toronto. So this is a real tough test for them tonight. And it's a real tough test for them, once they, and this is again, assuming they get out of the play in, because again, they may end up playing Brooklyn in the play in game again. And that is, I have confidence, but I don't want to have to go back to that well to beat that dude twice, to beat that team twice. Like that is not an easy ask for them. But when you get playoff Trae, which is what the Hawks have right now, when you get playoff Trae, he's got that swag. Remember that series at Madison Square Garden? He had that look in his face. He's got that little sort of like half smile coming out of the side of his mouth when he knows he's like really got to go and he's turned it on and no one's slowing him down. That playoff Trae, that Trae is the guy that can help carry this team and elevate this team. Now, John Collins may come back, and part of me is like, I don't know if I want him actually back, right? Because things are going so well offensively right now without him. I know they need his defense, and they certainly need his rebounding. And it's interesting to see how well this thing has developed without him. But still, the idea that that John Collins not being back makes the Hawks better is a little bit perplexing, to say the least. So, playoff Trae back right now. Let's see what happens tonight against Toronto. Going to be a very, very interesting matchup. I am excited. Or I should not say. I keep saying tonight. I forget it's Monday night. There are no games on Tuesday night, so Hawks have a little bit more rest. I apologize. Because I'm traveling, my calendar is all jacked up. But regardless, when they play Toronto, it's going to be interesting to see how this whole thing shakes out. And the Hawks are getting hot at the right time. They really, really are. And this is a team right now that I think a lot of people, a lot of pundits are looking at the corner of their eye going, I don't know if we want to play the Hawks right now. And that's a comfortable feeling for this team because I think that's where they really like to be. I think that's where Trae likes to be. Trae likes to kind of be underestimated and undervalued and underappreciated so he can step up to the moment and have his biggest and best games. All right, coming up next, the Atlanta Brave with the absolute most pressure on him in 2022. I'll tell you who that is. Coming up next, right here in A to Z on Locked On Sports Atlanta, available for free on YouTube and everywhere you get your podcast. Just search for Locked On Sports Atlanta.